To fully understand the tradition of lotus feet, also known as chánzú, it's important to look at the historical and social context that allowed this practice to survive for over 1,000 years. Today we're going to explore one of the most disturbing traditions in history, the cruel practice of lotus feet. Although its exact origins remain uncertain, many historians trace it back to the Tang dynasty, which lasted from 618 to 907 before Christ, or to the reign of Emperor Li Yu. At first, the custom was limited to imperial courtisers, where it was seen as a symbol of grace and elegance. Over time, however, it evolved into a powerful marker of social status. The purpose of this painful body modification was to attract wealthy suitors and demonstrate that a woman came from a respected family. While it initially existed only among the upper classes, the tradition gradually spread across nearly every level of Chinese society. There were two main reasons families embraced the practice. First, bound feet suggested that a woman never needed to perform physical labor, signaling wealth and privilege. Second, matchmakers actively searched for women with extremely small feet because they believed the ability to endure such suffering reflected obedience, discipline, and the qualities expected of an ideal traditional wife. The binding process usually began during the winter because people believed the cold would numb the pain and reduce the risk of infection. Girls were typically between 4 and 9 years old when the procedure started. As the years passed, the constant pressure permanently reshaped the entire foot, even deforming the bones themselves. In most cases, someone outside the immediate family performed the procedure. For many mothers, watching their daughters endure such agony was simply too unbearable. The girls' feet were first soaked in a mixture of animal blood and medicinal herbs, which was believed to soften the muscles. Afterward, the caretaker forced each toe underneath the sole of the foot, bending them far beyond their natural limit and deliberately breaking the bones until the toes formed a tight fist beneath the foot. Because this tradition existed for centuries, almost all of these procedures were performed without any form of anesthesia. The person carrying out the binding continued despite the child's screams of pain. The next stage was even more painful. Once the bones had been broken, the feet were wrapped tightly with long bandages soaked in a mixture of animal blood and medicinal herbs. Each layer was pulled as tight as possible, forcing the feet to gradually take on the desired shape. Severe ulcers and infections were extremely common throughout the process. In many cases, these infections spread into the bloodstream, becoming life-threatening. Historians estimate that around 10% of the girls who underwent foot binding died from complications related to the practice. The ultimate goal was to reduce each foot to roughly 3 inches in length, allowing women to wear the tiny embroidered shoes associated with the ideal of the lotus foot. The consequences were devastating. Women with bound feet suffered severely limited mobility, making them increasingly dependent on their husbands and relatives. Although many admired lotus feet as the ultimate symbol of beauty, the women who possessed them often spent much of their lives confined to their homes. The deformity was far more than a cosmetic alteration. It was a permanent physical disability. Deliberately breaking and reshaping the bones caused lifelong pain, chronic health problems, and difficulty walking. Efforts to eliminate the tradition gradually gained momentum during the 20th century, eventually leading to its near disappearance. Today, a small number of women with lotus feet are still alive, but most are now in their 80s or older, having experienced the practice during childhood. After the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, the government launched a strict nationwide campaign to ban foot binding. Those efforts ultimately brought an end to the tradition for nearly all future generations. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe for more fascinating stories like this in the future.